The June 9th Panama City Planning Board meeting is now in order. Please take the roll.
Board Member Carroll.
Here.
Board Member Stamps.
Here.
Board Member Barker.
Here.
Board Member Rich.
Here.
Chairman Newbauer.
Here. Are there any changes or deletions to the agenda?
I have an item I'd like to request y'all add on. It's concerning a potential appeal for a dock at 3411 West 15th Street. And it doesn't matter if we add it to the front or the back.
Gotcha. What you prefer? Just do the end?
We can just do it at the end.
Okay. Are there any announcements or disclosures from board members? Do we need to vote on adding the
Yes, you
adding the
should.
agenda? Okay.
Yeah.
To have a motion to add item, what's the address?
It would be item 6I.
Aye.
Motion to add item 6I.
Second.
Please take the roll.
Board Member Carroll.
Yes.
Board Member Stamps.
Yes.
Board Member Barker.
Yes.
Board Member Rich.
Yes.
Chairman Newbauer.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
To have a motion to approve the May 12, 2025 Planning Board meeting minutes.
So moved. Second.
Please take the roll.
Board Member Carroll.
Yes.
Board Member Stamps.
Yes.
Board Member Barker.
Yes.
Board Member Rich.
Yes.
Chairman Newbauer.
Yes. Now going to read the process for quasi-judicial proceedings. The following procedure which the board will follow during quasi-judicial hearings. Public hearing announced, introduction by application by staff. Ex parte communication disclosure by board members. Identification of applicant and affected parties that intend to participate in the hearing. Affected parties that only intend to make a statement may do so at the public participation part of the agenda. An affected party means any person or entity that will suffer an adverse effect to an interest protected or furthered by the ELDC, including interests related to health and safety, police and fire protection, service systems, densities or intensities of development, transportation facilities, healthcare facilities, equipment or services, and environmental or natural resources. The alleged adverse interest may be shared in common with other members of the community at large, but must exceed a degree the general interest in community good shared by all persons. Now turn it over to council to swear any witnesses.
You've got a few folks walking in here. If you were here this afternoon to speak on any item, with the exception of item G, as in goat, as in Nick Saban is the goat, then you need to stand and raise your right hand and be sworn in. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you'll give in these matters to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
When you come to the podium to speak on your matter, you'll state your name and address for the record and that you have been sworn. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, item number A.
Item A is case number CPC PLN 2025-0515. They're requesting final plat approval. In November 2011, the city of Panama City approved a PUD master plan, which is a 700-acre plan unit development to be developed through multiple phases over the next 20 years. In November 2023, the city of Panama City approved a development order for Sweet Bay Town Center, Phase 1A and 1B. So staff recommends approval of the final plat with the condition that the requirements of the TRC are met and also a submittal of a performance bond for any remaining subdivision improvements or dedications at the time of platting and dedication.
Thank you. Any board member questions for staff on this item? Is the applicant here? Anyone here to speak on this item? Please.
Richard Funtner, 203 Aberdeen Parkway. Dewberry Engineering on behalf of St. Andrew Bay Land Company. Don't really have anything to say other than if there's any questions from anyone, the board or the public.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Is anyone else here to speak on this item? All right, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion second, please take roll.
That motion second includes the conditions of staff.
Yes, sir.
That's correct.
Board Member Carroll.
Yes.
Board Member Stamps.
Yes.
Board Member Barker.
Yes.
Board Member Rich.
Yes.
Chairman Newbauer.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Item letter B.
Item B, case number CPC PLN 2025-0551. It is a small-scale land use amendment and rezoning It is, the request is to rezone from public institutional to mixed use 3 to be more adjacent with mixed use parcels in the area. The owner is Bay Oaks Village MHP Inc. The applicant's name is Scott Helms. Address is 2414 Michigan Avenue. And yeah.
Thank you. Are there any board member questions for staff?
Is this parcel associated with any of the other parcels, particularly across Michigan Avenue, or is it an independent parcel?
Across Michigan Avenue, there's the public institution of the church, which is who used to own it. Below that, there's an R1, and then everything else is pretty much Bay County, except for if you go to the north, there's the mixed-use lots.
Okay. And I guess regardless of what this vote is public institution the correct zoning for that lot, being that it's no longer associated with the church?
I guess it's not really supposed. There's nothing there that owns it that is public institutional anymore at this time.
I'd like just to add that there were some printouts that were set at your desk. It's 2 emails from some neighboring or nearby property owners that want to speak out in opposition to the rezoning.
Thank you.
I'd like to enter that as part of the report.
Thank you. Is the applicant here to speak on this item?
Scott Helms, 2414 Michigan Avenue. I'll take any questions.
What are your intentions of the property?
I was thinking either a small warehouse, flex space, or townhomes. That's why I want to do a mixed use.
Are warehouses
Well, there's,
allowed in mixed use 3?
Sorry, what was the
Are
question?
warehousing, is that allowed in MU3?
Just a second. I think it allows for neighborhood scale commercial uses, so. MU3, neighborhood scale commercial uses not to exceed 20,000 square feet of heated cool space per parcel. Such uses may include professional offices and personal facilities, private daycare, or private childcare or daycare, commercial recreational facilities, grocery and convenience, retail, athletic clubs, dance studios, food establishments without drive-through window, and other similar uses serving the neighborhood area. Typically, if someone wants to do warehousing, we would direct them to GC2 zoning, and we've got a similar case that's coming up later on the agenda.
Okay.
Well, the thing that concerns me, when you change it, you can put anything you want to. You can say, today I'm gonna do this, but tomorrow you change your mind, it's different.
I had preliminary drawings of the warehouse. I don't know if it's in the file there or not, but I've had preliminary drawings for a while. There is a warehouse adjacent to my lot, 2404 Michigan Avenue, is a warehouse and an auto detail repair shop directly to the south.
And this zoning is just the city zoning, but is it correct that Bay County, it's R1 surrounding that property?
Yes, sir. It's all R1, but the lot to the southeast, it is considered light manufacturing. If you look in the map there, but it is zoned R1. The rest of it is R1.
You have several warehouse structures on Michigan Avenue as well. 21 is a mobile home park, but 2311 is a warehouse structure. And then at the corner of Michigan and 3905 23rd Court is a warehouse as well. I'm not talking about a big warehouse. We're talking about a 5,000 square foot space with nice, landscaping facade in the front.
Is this for personal use or
I
commercial?
was going to use one side and rent out the other. Yes, sir.
Is the staff recommendation based on the adjacent use of property with the the automotive building?
No, it is based off the surrounding, particularly the cities surrounding, the MU to the north.
Okay.
And it's more so of the change of the zoning more so than potential warehousing.
We did have the zoning change, just call it an oversized garage.
Well, I'm trying to do it right, so.
Okay, all right.
Thank you. See if there's anyone else who does.
There's a lot worse.
Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak on this item? Yes, yeah. Let's let her give a chance to speak, and you can answer any questions that may come up.
I do not have an agenda, so this is Bay Oaks Village.
Yes.
Yes, correct.
Okay. I'm Robin Morrison, and I'm at 3900 West 24th Street. And I am still against this future land use amendment because it mainly adds multifamily apartments and condominium units. And I don't want that within 300 feet of my property. I'm concerned that it will lower the value of surrounding properties. And I don't want it to be or turned into a dirty rundown housing with poor living conditions. I went by the two Bay Oaks Village mobile home parks, the one on School Avenue in Springfield and the one on North Kimbrell Avenue in Callaway. And I would not want to live there. It looks like some are FEMA trailers, and whether they are or not, the parks are run down. And I know last year y'all denied his request, and I'm asking you to do so again. And the main point I'm trying to make is that I don't want something within 300 feet of my property that will devalue the asset that I own. And I thought it mattered what he wanted to do with the property, if he wanted to put a warehouse or storage unit there, but it doesn't mean he can't change his mind and put multifamily apartments there or a condo. So please deny his request. Thank you.
Ma'am, you were sworn in earlier? Were you sworn in earlier?
No, sir.
Did everything you just said, was that the truth?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, let's see if there's anyone else that wants to speak on this item first. Anyone else wish to speak on this item? Go, yeah, please go ahead.
Just for clarification, I had to keep the Bay Oaks Corporation name because I have other real estate properties in that. I sold those mobile home parks back in 21. I haven't owned those in 5 years, so I have nothing to do with that, and I don't run my properties like that. If they're run down now, that has nothing to do with me.
Thank you. Is there any other board member questions or discussion? Do I have a motion? Anyone wish to make a motion to approve or deny?
I'll make a motion to deny.
Do I have a second?
I second, we need a vote.
I have a motion and a second. Please take roll.
Board Member Carroll.
Motion to
No.
deny.
Board Member Stamps.
Yes.
Board Member Barker.
Yes.
Board Member Rich.
Yes.
Chairman Newbauer.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1.
Yeah. Item letter C. That will go to the commission July 8th, 2025 for the first reading, and then second reading July 22nd, 2025.
Okay, item C is case number CPC PLN 2025-0605. The applicant has requested to vacate an 8-foot platted alleyway and a 22-foot strip of land designated as city property that does not retain any underground utilities or infrastructure. The applicant is Dunlap and Shipment on behalf of Ronald and Dorothy Hamlin, and it is located south of East 2nd Court between Sherman Avenue and Main Avenue.
Thank you. Are there any questions from board for staff?
As far as the city, it's not gonna do anything with that right away.
No. There's an alley there, and then the 22-foot strip, I guess at some point it was dedicated to the city as a roadway for a gas station that used to be there or was proposed to be there at one point, but city isn't doing anything with the property.
Any other questions? Is the applicant here to speak on this item?
Good afternoon. I'm Denise Rowan, 558 Harrison Avenue. I'm here to answer any questions.
Questions? All right.
Thank you.
Anyone else here from the audience wish to speak on this item? All right. So none, do that. Oh, we did. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah. I'm Holton Harders. We're right next door to Mr. Hamlin's property where the easement is. All there is a power line that goes down that feeds our dock and used to feed some of his property at one time. But it's been an easement forever. And what do you do if you're going to delete it? Are you splitting that 22 feet? We get 11 feet. He gets 11 feet. What's the plan? That's what I was told by the city.
I was under the impression both parcels.
Yeah, the abandonment would be divided down the middle, as you said. So if you've got property on one side, I think I remember looking at it, you do, then you would get part of that abandonment, and then they would get the other part of it.
Okay. Yeah, because this easement where it comes right in our back gate, where it's.
Is that gonna?
And it terminates before it gets to the abandonment does, before it gets to your.
It goes all the way. If you see where that checkered mark on your board is, that's where we got a lower yard and an upper yard.
Yeah.
Where it goes right where if you're going south, that's where the main power pole is. And then from there, it goes down into our lower yard.
What I meant was it does not affect your access to your property.
It could.
But you have access to it now.
We've got access on Main Avenue, but that's the back gate where we can come. We don't use it that often, except for when we have heavy trucks coming in, because it's all industry here. You know, where we need to make a loop, where we don't have room to turn around.
Okay.
Do they?
So,
Oh, go ahead.
are you saying you use this alleyway periodically? Is that what you were just saying, where you have trucks turn around?
We do from time to time. The biggest thing is where the property lines are really there. You know, there you can't find any property. I mean, we know about where they're at, and the telephone line ought to be the center line. It should be the center of that easement. It should be, is what I'd assume. So, it all depends. You have to go down there and look at it, or we need to get Buchanan Harper or somebody to survey it and really see where that line is. If the telephone pole is the center line, you know, we'd get that 11 foot east of the center line. And if it's split, they'd get 11 feet on the west side.
Mike, if they close this and we abandon the thing and one gets half, the other gets half, who's responsible for having a survey? Before you can do a deed, if you're gonna deed it over to them, you're gonna have to have a survey.
We will not do a deed. It'll be it's just abandoned.
Yeah. It's just an abandonment, and so anybody can still drive over it. You can't put a fence in it just because it's been abandoned. You can't put a fence in there over that in the middle of it, can you?
Once we if the city abandons it, yes, they could potentially put up a fence on their portion of it.
11 feet.
Well, how do they know if it's their portion? They don't have a deed.
Well, they'd be responsible for getting a survey.
Yeah, they'd have to get their own survey at that point, right?
They'll take Larry's question is what's the instrument that tells the world that this is somebody's
If there's
property?
not a deed, what? Yeah.
Yeah.
How if he gets ready to sell it, goes to sell it, or they go to sell it? How do they know that's a part of their property? Because we're dealing with one over in Walton County now on something. That's why I wanted to.
And
There never was a clear cut of who got the deed, who how was it deeded over?
It's the ordinance of abandonment that will be the instrument, so it acts as effectively a quitclaim deed.
Okay,
So
so
the
quick
county,
deed, basically.
the city just says, we have no more use for this, and so we're vacating it. And by operation of law, it goes as they were saying, it's 11 feet on either side, or whatever the center line is. But that's just by operational law. So an abandonment effectively, as I said, is really a quit claim deed where the city just says, we have no use for this property. So it goes back to the underlying fee simple.
Can we sell it?
No, we can't sell it. We might have a bidding war.
We'll give Ms. Rohan a chance to respond. It seems like she may answer some of your questions, so.
The only thing I would add is I don't disagree that when a municipality or local government body abandons property that is split between the owners, but I think that the parties in more of a civil nature would have to identify exactly where that 22-foot is, because I don't know that this drawing accurately depicts where we think it is based on our study of the chain of title. So, but that would be something we could work out with Mr. Harder, provided the city has already determined they don't have any need for it anymore. So if Mr. Hamlin owns the entire property around the 20-foot strip and the other strip, then arguably it would go to him. If in fact Mr. Harder does, then yes, it would be split, but we would have to work that out with Mr. Harder.
First step, though, is for the city.
Right, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, what I think, if it looks like the city don't know and you don't know what you're getting, and we don't know what we're giving, that's a conundrum for me. You know, I think we should table it until we find out what we're doing.
I guess from the city's perspective, no, there isn't. They don't.
But
no
I
interest
understand
in
it,
it,
but
yeah.
to keep both parties at ease with it, they're asking for something they really don't know what they're asking for. They're asking us to give something we don't really know what we're giving, even though we abandoned it. And it can create problems for either one of them.
Are we abandoning an easement or a public right of way?
It's a right of way.
Okay.
There's two easements, but technically there's a 22-foot, which I think falls within his property, the applicant's property, and then there's an 8-foot alleyway that's outside of it. I think that 8-foot alleyway would get split in between, but the 22-foot would go to the applicant.
And to clarify, we know what we're asking for. We're asking for an abandonment for something the city doesn't use. And I understand that this property was before the Planning Commission before because the city was just in general cleaning up some easements, some right-of-ways that it just doesn't use anymore. But then there was a question about the location, so this was already pulled off. And that's when Mr. Hamlin retained my office to study the chain of title to determine where these right-of-ways lie. And so we're comfortable with where we think they are. But that's why we're pursuing the city's abandonment, because the city doesn't have any use for it anymore and hasn't for a long time.
I'm not saying you don't know what you're asking for, but you don't know where it begins. You don't know if somebody could show us where it begins and where it ends, and he can be satisfied with it. If he's already using it, that creates a problem for me. Mm-hmm. If somebody's already using it, what you're asking to be abandoned for. Mm-hmm. Now, if he doesn't use it, that's fine.
Mr. Barker, my understanding is he seldom uses it, and he has access for a different route. And otherwise, it's really just between two neighbors in terms of figuring out where that property lies.
Are you willing to work with her?
What's that?
Are you willing to work with them?
Oh, yeah, I'd like to see originally that strip right there back 30 years ago when Holmes Shipyard owned that property, the old railway. And that was the main road going into the shipyard. Now, it might have been an easement way back when, but that's the main trail going in there. We keep it mowed right now. We keep the whole thing trimmed. So just in case we need a power truck,
Can you come to the microphone just so it gets recorded for the Zoom call?
Yeah, I forgot to tell you my address. My address over there is 115 Main Avenue in Millville. So the alleyway, the easement, which we knew it was there, but that was the main road going in right under the power lines. So what we've done, even you can drive down there this afternoon, you can see we keep it mowed just in case power comes, because it feeds our dock and shore power for all our tugs and whatnot.
Are you in opposition to the city abandoning this easement right away?
I'm not in opposition to it as long as it's fair. That's the main thing. I don't want to lose the back gate. If we're going to lose our back gate, I'm against it.
And to clarify, you said you have 115. Are you also the owner of 111?
Yep.
Okay, all right, so, yeah, so you
Well,
got those
really
three,
going- yeah.
three in a line.
Up
and then-
on, right off Second Court, all the way down to, East Second Street. We're right next door.
Yep, yeah, I was just making sure from, I see 100, 200 on this side.
Yeah, 111 is where the house is.
Can you still can you still get access to your back gate with 11 feet?
Probably so.
I mean, it's
We
not
can-
going to deny you access to your back gate. If you get 11 foot and you're not losing that, then you can still have access.
Yeah, I
to it.
need to measure it off and see. We can go down there after the meeting and you can see it. You'll see what I'm talking about.
All right, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I want to clarify something. You said whoever made the application get the 22 feet? Is that what you said?
Based on the meetings we've had and what we looked into, is the 22 feet is within the, what is that, 200 Sherman Avenue? It's within the property lines, and then you have right next to that easement, there's an 8-foot alleyway.
I have a drawing if you all just want to have an idea. I'm not saying Mr. Hars will agree to it, and I think Mr. Hamlin would really like to speak because he's got a lot of historical knowledge. You all want me to pass this around?
Sure. Yeah, like.
Sure.
So, Mr. Barker, part of the property, part of the 22 feet lies within Mr. Hamlin's
So
property.
this is the 22 feet all
There you
within.
go.
This is the foot right here. But this is where, this is confusing because if you look at GIS, it looks like it's here, but our study shows that it's not. It's all within his property.
Okay.
It says the 8 feet.
So where's the current property?
Well, it looks like it would be right.
That's
Right there.
that's his property. Over here.
Mr. Barker, get that. Can you still?
But this is where
And goes
it
egress.
really stops short. I think it's the result of a different point of beginning.
It's not part of it.
It's about 30 feet different.
The way it looks like, the way it looks like there, it looks like all that.
Yeah. Thank you.
So this is the drawing showing the 22 feet all within the, Mr. Hamlin's
So
property.
you're saying this 22 feet
Right.
is already in his property? That's already his property?
Yes.
Yeah, so.
And then this 8.
This is just an easement, and this is the road right away.
Well, no, this is the 8
This is
feet.
the right of way.
This is right here.
Oh, that's it.
22 foot is already within here.
Uh,
It's just confusing where it looks on GIS because it's not really. This is one example where Bacon on GIS is really.
So it's hard to come on this property to get it back.
Now he's over here.
So he's never used this for his back.
But she's
We don't think so, but you can ask Mr. Hamlin. Very seldom.
Is that Mr. Hershey?
Yeah.
Is that Mr. Hershey?
Yes. Mr. Hamlin, would you like to speak?
Ronald Hamlin, 218 South Cove Lane, Panama City, Florida. My wife and I own the property in question. We purchased it in, I think it was 1986, roughly. And the legal description of my property, the legal description of Mr. Harder's property are both equal sizes and come together at this alleyway. And yet, for some reason, the alleyway has always been depicted in these drawings as though it's over toward my side of the property, which is totally incorrect. Mr. Harder's property was fenced up until after the hurricane. They removed the fence. To be honest, at the very front of the property, the fence was out of whack for about 8 feet, coming down about, 30 or 40 feet. And then it went back to the east, somewhere between 8 and 12 feet, and then went straight down the property to the south, all the way down the property line. And the legals on all this stuff, to me, are what should control this whole thing, and not someone saying that they drove a truck down there, because it wasn't a gas station. It was a Texaco oil terminal, which I purchased and had all the tanks taken down. I had my office seafood company there until a hurricane did away with it, and I never redid it. I finally just tore it down. But after years of staying away from the property, Harder's fence stayed there all these years until after the hurricane. And then they took it up and have mowed this strip, which I guess is what they are saying is their entryway. To my knowledge, the entire time I was there with the seafood company, they never had a vehicle come down that path. The only alleyway that was there was a very tiny strip which had 2 ruts in it when it left the highway, when it left Second toward up there, I guess it is, whatever that street is. And it came down to a cluster of trees and then went from the cluster of trees to the east and then meandered back and forth. It was, the intent of it was a part of the entrance to the terminal. The terminal entrance on the other side was on Sherman Avenue. And it went back about 60 feet into the property on what was always thought to be Sherman. And it seems like since the hurricane, everyone is moving fences. They've done the same thing on the other side of the property. And this is after years and years. And I've owned my property longer than Mr. Harder's has owned his over there. And it's very simple when you use a legal description. And as it turns out, the 22-foot strip is not even where they thought it was. If you read the legals, I'm not good at reading legals because I can't find the range markers. If I had those kind of maps, I could. But, you know, to me, we're just all out of whack. Mr. Harder's property line down toward the water also ends way before he built his seawall. For some reason, they came along later and continued the seawall on across into what is my property. And years ago, before this all occurred, they had barges in front of my property, and I sent them a bill for rental to place their barges there. They immediately removed the barges, but after the hurricane, it all started over. And because I was never over there, I never went over there. It's all grown up, and you know, we can all say what we want, but it comes down to what does one party legally own and what does the other party legally own. There's all kind of screw ups in the legals and surveys over there throughout the entire place, not just where I'm at, but on down the road in different parcels. But, you know, I just don't understand why I should have to give part of my property to the adjacent property owner. The 22-foot, if it were located where the city thought it was, it still came off my property. It did not come off their property. Thus it should go back to me, not split 50-50 with an adjacent property owner. Thank you.
Let me clarify that, what he's saying there, because that was a question earlier. The law says that when the city abandons a right-of-way or vacates a right-of-way, an alleyway, road, whatever, that it goes back to, that it's divided among the property owners who abut that. And so if Mr. Hamlin's property surrounds all of the major portion of this, then it goes to him because he's all within the envelope.
Right.
The alleyway, think of an alleyway, a traditional cove alleyway. That's the abutting property owners on either side. That's when it would really get divided down the middle. So if of the 22 feet, I think I heard 8-foot alley in there. Ultimately, what it sounds like on this point would be 4 feet is going to go to either side of it. Does that make sense to you? Because 8 feet of that is outside of Mr. Hamlin's property and is adjacent to Mr. Harder's property.
But if the city vacates that easement, then it's just going to go to whatever property lines are actually there.
Correct.
And split that way, right?
Yes.
Okay. So who determines the legitimateness of the property lines?
A survey will go out and do that, and then you've got title, and that's what Ms. Rowland was showing you a minute ago, is that's not a survey they've done, but that was a document prepared by someone who is knowledgeable in the area of title and legal descriptions.
But if the city vacates it, then that's on them
That's
to figure out
for the parties to determine. Yeah,
gotcha.
we don't determine the title to it. Even my example of the alleyway in the cove, we would we would not go and try to determine, we, the city, would not go and try to determine who owns either side of that. We would leave that to the property owners ultimately. And it's usually resolved pretty quickly by a survey that just shows who it is and who owns the title to both sides.
Is it fair to say the property lines are there regardless? The easement is just on top of those property lines. When the easement gets lifted.
That's right.
Yeah, right, the right of way, that's where the confusion I think is coming. The right of way is on his property, the easement is between the two there.
The alley,
Or the alley or whatever it was is there. So I understand what he's saying, I understand what's going on.
If nobody has any more questions, I'll stop, but I just wanted to, clarify that, the 22 feet and the 8 feet, the 8 feet, I think is really the alleyway. That might be in question. I don't know that the 22 feet is, but either way, in terms of the city needing these two right-of-way easements, it doesn't look like you guys do. And again, they were part of a batch of other right-of-ways, other easements that were previously abandoned. And Mr. Hamlin came up and asked questions, wanting to know the location. And then that's what prompted all of this to, the further discussion to then come see me to understand, or see my law firm to understand where the lines are located and what comes next. So, but there's no utilities, there's no issue with Comcast, there's no issue with, water, sewer, anything like that. The city doesn't have a use for it. But to the extent that Mr. Harder might have a claim, to a portion of that property because of his usage of it over a period of time, then certainly we'll have to work that out outside of the city's non-use of these easements.
Your abandonment is not going to affect the power line or either. Those are other easements that exist by other parties, so it doesn't affect that.
Thank you.
Different properties we have, usually on an easement, there is a power line going, and it's going the way it looks, because there's no monuments. Now, we have a monument. The city owns property on the east side of us, right next to Mercury, a little skinny strip. There's monuments there, but as far as on the west side, in between us, we've never found any, it's hard to
If
tell.
Gulf Power has an easement, that's not this.
But most of the time on an easement, like where there's the power line going, that's down the center line of the easement. And so that's what I'm saying, where that center line, that's where we've been keeping it mowed, right down the center line. So is it ours or it his? We need a survey on it, and then where the property line is.
Right.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Are y'all both agreeable to get a survey done and so that there's, or do you feel that's
I'm agreeable with a survey, but I don't understand why legal descriptions do not carry in property. When you have two parcels, one is the right-hand side of a block, on the left-hand side of a block, as pictured up there in the drawings, and it distinctly has each parcel with 198 feet, then the alleyway of 8 feet, and then 198 feet into his property. So I really don't understand how, when you have legals that show that, why would any of this have anything to do with them? I'm sorry, but it just makes no sense.
Just a question. Just a question.
And Ms. Rowan referenced about the 8-foot alleyway. Back in February of this year, the city abandoned the 8-foot strip on the 2 blocks north of this one, if you remember.
Yep. Thank you. All right. Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion second. Please take roll.
Board Member Carroll.
Yes.
Board Member Stamps.
Yes.
Board Member Barker.
Yes.
Board Member Rich.
Yes.
Chairman Newbauer.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. D, Savannah.
Item D is case number CPC PLN 20250623. It is a request for a final plat. The owner of the subject property is D.R. Horton Incorporated. The applicant is Sean Kelly with D.R. Horton. The address of the subject property is 4500 North Star Avenue. It's approximately 123 acres. This is, the developer, D.R. Horton, is seeking their final approval for the Phase 11 subdivision plat. And this consists of about 238 lots.
Thank you. Any questions from staff, from board members? Is anyone here to speak on this item? All right, seeing none, do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second,
With
please take.
conditions.
Motion and a second to approve with conditions.
Who was the second? Barker.
Second. Yeah, that's right. That's what conditions.
Please take the roll.
Board Member Carroll.
Yes.
Board Member Stamps.
Yes.
Board Member Barker.
Yes.
Board Member Rich.
Yes.
Chairman Dubauer.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Great. Item number E, Savannah.
Item E is case number CPC PLN 20250624. This is also a request for a final plat. The owner is D.R. Horton Incorporated. The applicant is Sean Kelly with D.R. Horton. The address of the subject property is 4500 North Star Avenue. This subject property is approximately 17 acres. This, the developer is seeking approval of Liberty Phase 5A, and 5A doesn't contain any individual lots for residential use, but it's for city right-of-way and other infrastructure improvements, mostly Liberty Boulevard.
Thank you. Any questions from board members? Is anyone here to speak on this item? Please take, do I have a motion? Sorry.
We'll get here next time. Let's do night. No.
Nobody left except him.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion second, please take roll.
Board Member Carroll.
Yes.
Board Member Stamps.
Yes.
Board Member Barker.
Yes.
Board Member Rich.
Yes.
Chairman Newbauer.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Letter F, Michael.
This is case number CPC PLN 2025-0620. It's a text amendment to the Land Development Code. Specifically, it's a request to amend section 104-33E8, which is the permitted encroachments in the downtown district zoning district. The primary purpose, or what we're hoping to accomplish with this, is to prevent any column-supported structures from encroaching into the Harrison Avenue public right-of-way. As y'all are aware, the city's undertaking the Harrison Avenue Streetscape project. And with that, there is a concern that any businesses that come in and want to enhance the front facade of their building do so while allowing for some encroachments like canopies, balconies, and stoops, but do so without having any column-supported structures like that from impacting the new streetscape project. That section of the code allows for those encroachments, canopies, balconies, stoops, sidewalk, cafes. What we're asking to do is to either make them cantilevered and not have columns that are
Encroaching the right of way.
down in the ground. Yeah. So that's where this is coming from. I'd like to get some feedback from the board as well. The downtown district zoning district was one of those that was crafted after a series of public workshops that were done by Dover Cole. Downtown district was one of those things that came out of the work that Dover Cole did. So I don't want to take amending that very lightly. because there was a lot of time and effort that went into crafting that zoning district. But I think this was also done before the the pavers and the wide sidewalks on Harrison Avenue was contemplated.
Okay, it would be a correct assumption that while this is the code, if there was a special circumstance, somebody could still come to request a variance if they had a unique situation where they needed a
They could, yes.
column supported for something.
Yeah, if there was something unique, truly unique about it, and they could demonstrate a hardship for a reason why column supporters needed, then yes, they could do that. This would just make the standard for those permanent encroachments, either cantilevered or something that doesn't have columns supporting it.
Can you describe the stoop element, like the balconies and the canopies I get, but I guess, can you just clarify what the stoop is in reference to?
Stoops are like a set of stairs or a raised platform. And the reason why we're wanting to amend that piece of it is with the new streetscapes, the sidewalk is basically at the same grade as the front doors of these businesses along Harrison Avenue. So there's really not a need for a stoop on Harrison Avenue. However, some of those side roads like 5th and 4th, we could see a stoop being something that someone would want to do in that case.
So this would keep the stoop on the interior of the property line, not in the right of way.
Yes, they could not project the stoop out into the public right of way. And because of the grading they're doing with the new streetscapes, I mean, the sidewalk is literally, same level, same grade as the front entrances of all those businesses.
Michael, this part about the 120 feet, what is that part of something they can do 120 feet, build a building in one of these areas? I mean, it's at the bottom of, it's under Unified Land Development Code regulations. It's number 4 in B4.
Vertical height.
The vertical height.
Yeah, that's not a change though.
It's already existing.
Yeah, that's the current height restriction allowed in downtown district.
Downtown there, they could build, okay.
To 125 feet, yes, sir.
Michael, on the balconies, is there any kind of width limitation that we should put into that?
Well, right now, or the way I've got it drafted is like for a balcony, that they could do no more than 8 feet out into the right of way. But again, it would have to be cantilevered.
Is that the width of the sidewalk?
No, I'm talking about, I guess, if the building is 60 feet
Oh,
wide.
I'm sorry.
Do they do a percentage of that, or is it just the
No,
entirety?
they
of
could
the
do the
width?
entirety of the building facade.
As far as the depth goes, there are some areas in like the Gallery of Art that's, I think it's, what is it, 4th Street, whatever.
Mhm.
There are some power lines that go there that may limit some of like a balcony to step out there. There was a building I had looked at a while back that you could do a balcony, but the power lines were so close.
Yeah.
Do we want to put some kind of encroachment into the street or the curb that it can't be within a certain amount of feet that way?
The actual power line?
Or just that it can't come too close to the street that way on a balcony, some kind of limitation that way?
So if there's a large truck going by, it's not
I see.
into the road?
Yeah, or anything that's encroaching into the road that way. I would think we'd want to have something where it can't come onto the road or past there at least, or maybe a couple
Can't
of feet
cover more than a
inwards.
certain percentage of the sidewalk?
Yeah.
Kind of thing?
Maybe.
Okay.
Or limit it so it can't be 2 feet. I think we had 2 feet somewhere else that was,
Balconies are limited to 6 feet, right?
6 feet in width.
The depth is 6 feet.
I heard 8 earlier, but
So that takes care.
Yeah, I think in that area, that's not much, not more than like 6 feet. But we may want to put a limitation that it can't come within so many feet of the edge of the curb or street or something like that. That's a good example, though, if you look at that building next to Gallery of Art that used to be the framing shop. That's one where the power lines are very, very close.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
so.
So rather than have a maximum distance that can go out, you want to, you're wanting to measure it from the.
I think we should probably have both.
Just in
Okay.
case
Yeah.
if it's a curve or something like that.
Yeah, like an or, yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay, that's good.
The sidewalk cafe, if I can ask about that, there are, now that we have the wider sidewalks and limited parallel parking on Harrison, do we want to continue to have that on Harrison Avenue? To where they're allowed to use parking spaces adjacent to the property? Because I feel like the wider sidewalks have been for that purpose, right?
Yep, that's a good point.
Okay.
So, yeah, we'll strike out or on-street parking spaces.
Particularly on Harrison Avenue,
Yeah,
but that might be something to think about.
no, that's
Well,
good feedback.
I know there are, well, and I guess it used to be some of the ones that are, now have sidewalks and are able to do it, but I know that was a feature of several places before they extended the sidewalks. I don't know if the adjacent streets.
Yeah, like Trigo is doing it, but now they have wider sidewalks in front of Trigo.
And there's
El
no,
Verde is on a side road, is on a
Yep.
side road, but it has,
It's part of their property, though.
it's in the parking.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I got you.
So my point is that I know we're mainly referencing the middle of Harrison.
Mhm.
I do think there are places on the outer side of Harrison
yeah,
that may still be acceptable because they still have the narrow sidewalks and the limited areas. So I don't know that striking it
or
in its completeness.
Limited to Harrison.
yeah, just say basically on Harrison Avenue, not using the on-street parking on Harrison Avenue for the sidewalk cafe, but still leaving that open to, I call them the intersecting streets
Yeah.
or the side roads.
Yeah.
Still have that available on the side roads.
I would think you'd want consistency on Harrison Avenue that way, since the streetscape is there,
Yep.
but the off streets then be more flexible on it. So.
Yeah,
Just say anywhere where there hasn't been streetscapes. In the streetscapes, then you can't.
Big word of 6th Street, basically.
You know, if there's not streetscapes, then you can park, you know, you can extend it to it.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Make it simple.
Okay.
okay.
That outdoor dining though is subject to another ordinance, so you'll have to amend that ordinance.
Yes.
As well, okay?
Well, I think actually that ordinance was already amended a year ago,
Yeah.
a year or two ago. We amended that ordinance that basically accounted for the streetscapes, but that little section, that piece in the downtown district zoning
What
was
stayed in our downtown district, so
Yeah.
that's right, I thought we changed that.
All right, any further discussion?
I just have one other question. Is there any kind of design review committee that looks at those things and reviews them for consistency?
currently there is not.
Okay.
With the review is any the design review is currently handled by planning staff as part of the overall plan review for a new project. But,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, thank you.
I'm not against, I just got a question. Well, not even a question, just a statement. I just believe we're gonna be coming in here with inundated with column requests. Because I don't think many of those buildings are designed to have balconies. So if they come in, I think most of them are gonna have to come in and request columns. It's just, looking at the buildings that's there, built the years that they were built, I don't think they're designed to support a balcony without columns. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, we might as well, get prepared for the columns request when we do this. Because when you're looking at the structures,
If you start building a balcony like that, the structural engineers have to look at it, they're gonna have to approve it, and then.
well, that's what I'm saying. I don't
Yeah,
think
so,
they're gonna be
well-
able to do it even with a structural
Well, they may not be
engineer.
able to, then they
Existing
wouldn't do it.
buildings,
Yeah.
New buildings, potentially.
It's gonna be expensive.
And this actually came up, and I guess what's kind of initially drove this was as part of the hometown revitalization program or grant. These businesses that are receiving the grant to fix up the front facades of their buildings, in this case, Tom's Hot Dog, proposed a balcony on the second floor, which had columns that came down, and it encroached into the right of way, which they can do per this. But it became apparent that the new streetscape projects had utility lines placed in that section of the sidewalk. So the columns, it was not an option there.
Okay. So is the game plan to tweak it a little bit, then come back again?
I can do that. Yeah.
Okay.
I jotted down some notes, and yeah, we can table it to the next.
Okay.
Have a
So,
motion.
motion to table?
Second.
Please take roll.
Board Member Carroll.
Yes.
Board Member Stamps.
Yes.
Board Member Barker.
Yes.
Board Member Rich.
Yes.
Chairman Newbauer.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Item letter G. Michael again.
Okay. Just jotting down a few notes here.
Go ahead. Take your time.
Okay. This is case number CPC PLN 2025-0756. It's another text amendment to the Unified Land Development Code. Specifically, it's request to amend section 104-37B, the allowable uses in general commercial 1 or GC1. And the proposed change would be to allow warehousing and storage of goods and materials not exceeding 1 acre in size per parcel in GC1. Currently, anybody that wants to do warehousing or storage, it has to be located in GC2. This came up recently with a gentleman that is trying to accomplish that, but zoning his property GC2, we feel like is not appropriate, given its proximity to residential areas. And the map that's included with your packets shows those parcels that are zoned GC1 currently and their proximity to R1 or the single family residential zoning. So, I do want the board to bear in mind that, if we go through with this text amendment, those pink colored parcels could potentially be warehousing and outdoor storage. But I think it could serve a neighborhood purpose.
Our problem is there's so many things in GC2 that we don't want next to R1 that are allowable, but.
Correct.
So.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we've had that where it's like, we understand the request, but we can't give the full latitude of GC2. Are there restrictions or can we, I guess, what's the mechanism for saying light warehousing or something to that degree, whereas I realize it's limited to 1 acre, or are there other code restrictions that would allow it to be more neighborhood friendly, even if it does have warehousing doors on it?
We could also add that as for the warehousing, specifically, like it could not exceed a certain square footage of warehousing. Like if you see in this same section, under allowable uses, it says neighborhood scale commercial uses not to exceed 20,000 square feet of heated and cooled space. We could probably, if we wanted to, apply that same sort of standard, like warehousing not to exceed blank square feet of heated and cooled space. That'd be one way to kind of.
And it'll already have the increased setbacks if it's abutting residential.
Yes,
so
that's true.
That's going to take care of all of it.
And this would all hinge on the fact that that property is either GC1 already or is getting
Rezone.
rezoned to.
Rezoned into it.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
Do we think that the R1 folks are going to want that right adjacent to their properties that way? I mean, on one hand, I see the functional part of having it near a residence, but at the same time, just like the folks expressed earlier, they didn't want a warehouse across the street from where they live. I mean, I feel like it's kind of the same mentality. If it was me, I don't know if I'd want it.
I'd use the example of the Cove in the sense of there are kind of little sections of commercial right next to residential. And I know there's at least one or two properties that are essentially bricked storage areas that are allowed there. I don't see it as being as disruptive if we have some language in there to limit it and make it not, a noisy warehouse where big trucks are coming through, but again, make it.
Yeah, but
like a neighborhood.
how do you word that so that it's limiting enough to not be out of control?
I think potentially you could limit the size of that warehousing. I mean, a big warehousing operation, is more likely going to be louder and more congested if it's 100,000 square feet. But if you say we allow warehousing not to exceed 10,000 square feet, that will
definitely limit it. Yeah.
But I also think if we're making the decision to make it commercial one to begin with, some of those considerations of proximity and noise are already in play, because otherwise it would stay, residential one or what that happens to
There's
be.
a lot of stuff you do in commercial one, so.
Yep.
Yeah, that's my
Warehouse is
point.
probably
yeah.
one of the least intrusive ones that you could probably do as far as noise goes.
Yeah.
For a book shop, tire store.
I see where you're coming from too, aesthetically, how do you make it match?
Yeah.
So,
Make a motion, we approve. Do we have to-
motion to have a second.
we have to make a motion?
Well, are there edits that, can we make a motion with edits, or is that a?
Yeah, make a motion, that we do it with the edited
with
minimum.
So we established like a maximum size a warehouse can be.
Yeah, max size.
10,000 square feet, not to exceed 10,000 square feet.
Probably dependent on the size of the parcel, I would say. Yeah.
Well, it's limited right now to an acre.
To an acre, and
I mean,
then
but
if I'm driving there, so I would
Yeah.
think 15 to 20, 20 to 15, half the size of an acre, half an acre.
So somebody could come to us and ask for an exception to that.
They could ask for,
They-
yeah, they could ask for a variance, so we could start with 10,000 if they want a variance, and they can come to
Right,
us.
that's what I'm thinking.
That's a good point.
Okay.
Okay.
A motion to have a second.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? Please take roll.
Board Member Carroll.
Yes.
Board Member Stamps.
Yes.
Board Member Barker.
Yes.
Board Member Rich.
Yes.
Chairman Newbauer.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right. Item letter H. Go ahead.
Item H is case number CPC PLN 2025 0707. The applicant and owner has requested a use determination appeal. The owner is requesting to operate a tire shop at 2717 East Fifth Street. The owner is Jose Almendarez, and the applicant is Superstar Auto Repair. Lois Mata is representing them. We originally got this request. They wanted to operate this tire shop at this existing location, but it falls within the neighborhood boundaries, so it was rezoned in January to neighborhood general. The owner purchased it in February, and when they came in with the request to operate a tire shop, we initially denied the request based on the zoning district. Repair shops are allowable in GC2, so that will be the best location for it.
So historically, this was a service.
This is a tire shop before.
It was a tire shop before.
And there's stuff right around there that's like automotive type repair. I think across the street there is, and there's a trailer repair place right down the road, like the next block over.
Just add to that. Well, first of all, these two pieces of paper were the actual documents that the applicant submitted. And the Land Development Code allows for someone to appeal a determination done by an administrative official. So she's actually appealing our decision to say that our determination that a tire shop is not appropriate in this particular zoning district. Basically, she's appealing that we erred in our decision to deny that.
And is it fair to say if this was an operating tire store, maybe similar to some of the other existing businesses, the code was changed, they would be grandfathered in until they sell that business or sell that property?
Correct.
Versus this is one that maybe was a vacant lot or not being utilized.
When it went dormant.
Yeah, when dormant maybe is a better way, and now is asking to come online again. However,
that's correct.
The future intent of that area is not to continue kind of large commercial. It's actually to be more neighborhood centric.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's
Well,
fair.
let me ask you a question. Like he was saying, everything around there is business, and this is facing Business 98. Matter of fact, it is on Business 98, and you got two stores. Well, you got, like he said, the auto repair shop across. You got a nail shop or something right there on the right. You got a vapor right down the street, and you had a grocery store until the storm came across the street. They're not gonna put no houses there or anything. Nobody's gonna build a house on a major highway like that.
The zoning district does allow like neighborhood commercial uses. It just doesn't allow no longer the auto repair.
And the only reason the other places right there adjacent to it are allowed to operate is because they were grandfathered in. Am I correct?
Yeah, I think a lot of that on Business 98 was GC2 before the neighborhood plans were enacted, and then they all got changed to neighborhood general. So the existing ones are grandfathered in, but being the fact that they purchased it in February, that's where it kind of kicked in.
So if the place across the street stops operating, they're not going to be able to reopen as the same kind of entity. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Unless they would have to rezone or.
Well, they'd have to rezone.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, to reference some of the Victor Dover Cole element, this is how you change neighborhoods is by setting a code, and as businesses, kind of turn over, the new intent of the code allows them to be in, a different area.
Right. I was getting at the same thing because the intent of it is to change it so that it's a certain style of businesses through there. So the irony of this is it was a tire shop before, and he's wanted to do a tire shop again, and he's not. It's the motion was to deny, but the intent is to change that section of that area, and if we approve it, then we would be doing a disservice to that thought and mindset of trying to change it.
You also don't have anybody here testifying that.
Well, right,
that
yeah.
it was
Well, I think it's going to come up over and over though, like as that phases in.
Yes,
So,
I'm just from a procedural point.
yeah.
You have no one here making a case.
We're making the case for it.
Yes.
Should we ask,
Or
should we ask if they're in attendance?
we can.
It's making me feel good though, Mike. It's like,
That was their argument, though. Technically, it was.
Well, I was just wondering why y'all had denied it when it was original.
Because it was
Tire
rezoned.
shop before that. That was my.
It was rezoned, and then the new ownership came after the rezoning happened.
She just came at a bad time.
is it a function of ownership or business ceasing to operate?
I think it's both. Either if they're vacant more than 6 months, if the ownership changes, expanding square footage, all that triggers the new updated code.
Okay.
Do we know when the last time the tire shop operated? I realized it was historically, but I didn't know when the last time it had been. Like, had it been 5 years, 10 years from the time a business had operated at that location?
I think it was before the storm. I lived in that area, and it was.
The fortunate thing is the guy bought it and didn't have any idea.
Yeah, it's
He's not
over
here to
5
talk about
years.
it, so.
It's over 5 years.
It still goes to the
Commission.
seeing no one's in the room to address this item, we have to
kill the business.
The motion to approve the denial. I mean, do we need to do it?
I think we got Larry made a motion. And,
Okay, second.
Sorry,
I didn't hear
motion
Larry.
second.
Sorry.
Let's take roll.
It is a motion to deny.
Motion to deny.
Oh, I thought you did. I'm sorry. There's too many people talking.
All right, so you need a motion?
We got a motion,
I'm still mixed on it.
Yes.
and then we need a second.
I'll second.
All right, motion second, please take roll.
Board Member Carroll,
Yes.
Board Member Stamps,
Yes.
Board Member Barker,
Yes.
Board Member Rich,
Yes.
Reluctantly.
Chairman Newbauer,
Yes.
motion passes 5-0.
It's just a shame.
I
That it
might
just
have gone
hit,
differently
it
if they
hit
were
that
here.
way.
So, all right, item I.
Yes, thank you for adding this on. This is another appeal, which we'll hear at the meeting in July. This concerns a dock that's under construction at 3411 West 15th Street, which is at the mouth of Lake Huntington. Y'all know where that is?
Yes.
I'll have maps and stuff for the actual agenda item. So we issued a stop work order for this dock because we had received some concerns that this dock was blocking the channel. And our land development code says that a dock can't impede navigation. So we issued the stop work order until we could figure all that out. The dock owner, or the guy building the dock, promptly provided us with some information showing that the dock, while it may be a little bit in the channel, it's not blocking the channel. So we lifted the stop work order. The appeal is coming from a group of nearby residents that think I erred in lifting that stop work order. We've got four people that are petitioning, and that will come in July. Should be fun. The reason why I'm bringing it up now is the section on appeals in the Land Development Code basically says that the filing of an appeal stays the proceedings. So our instruction to the dock owner, dock builder, was to pause construction until the appeal is settled next month. And however, the only construction that they should continue or can continue on with was if it's a matter of protecting the property or protecting health of somebody. The dock owner has said the only work that he has remaining left to be done is to add lighting, which would make the dock more visible at night, protecting his property. And the other bit of work he has left to be done is to remove scaffolding that he used so that the scaffolding won't get blown off into the water. Both, I think, which are reasonable requests to continue on with. However, I wanted to bring this matter to y'all's attention and I guess ask for, what are we asking for, Mike?
So the code requires that if Mr. Fuller determines those two things that you just said, that these are reasonable requests to protect life or property, then he has to notify the board, who can then, if you want to, you can tell him, no, don't do that, or you can tell him yes, or if you do nothing, he proceeds with what he's planning on doing. So it's a permissive part of the code. He's obligated to bring it to you. You're not obligated to act, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
But you can't act.
Is this Rohan?
No.
No, sir.
Okay. I was trying to think of it.
No, it's
I
different.
didn't think it was. But
Another dock. These docks,
man. I think we ought to let him proceed on, because lights on the dock coming at night, it'd be helpful to know it's there. And
It would be protective of anybody navigating there.
Absolutely.
And if there is any issue with it being
And the scaffolding that
near
we
the
have
channel, then that's,
or whatever,
yeah,
like it-
that's for
yeah,
everybody's safety,
I
not just
think
his,
proceed
but.
on.
Yeah.
So is the dock now built, and these are the last two steps.
That's correct. The
And
dock
then-
is pretty much done. It's just, yeah, the last two steps are adding the lighting and removing all the scaffolding that was used to.
And then I guess next month it comes before us. Will it have
Yeah.
kind of some visuals and surveys of
Yes.
the water channels?
So you have, is it 4 different petitions or?
Yeah.
We have 4 now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
4 different applicants. But
Okay,
we're
so-
gonna put it under one.
Right, so you've got 4 people that have filed an appeal of Michael's determination that the dock does not violate the code, which they have the right to do. And so you will have them if they're required to hear that within 45 days or the next earliest planning commission, which is going to be your July meeting. And so because of the number of people that we have to appeal and the issues involved, I'm going to recommend we run that a lot more formally than what we've done like today. And probably we put that at the end of the agenda so that we can get through the rest of it and then have the, because you're going to have so many parties that are going to need to present. And
Yep.
These
Could I ask you a
folks have
question?
already been to DEP on an appeal, and I don't know if that's.
DEP dismissed it with the opportunity to revise their
we don't know-
petition.
So far, we don't know that they've revised, but I'm sorry.
He
Donna.
was working on it. I'm not sure if it ever got put through.
Okay.
He was
Well,
working.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just know one of the applicants came and actually met with me in Orlando to kind of talk about like what he was looking at, what they were trying to request, and he submitted it one time. They came back with more questions, and he was going to submit it again. I'm
To
not sure.
DEP,
If
not
he, yeah, to DEP, the state agency. I'm not sure if he ever followed through with that, but that was his intent.
I was just gonna ask, is there any way we can just go ahead, the way y'all got it going, and allow them to have temporary lights, lighting until?
Yeah, we can just need a motion for that.
Yeah.
I would just wanna make, they weren't gonna go and do the permanent lighting, just do temporary until they can get away done. That's why my question is. Because if you say do the light, they can go out there and do the big lighting, whatever it's gonna cost them, but they just do
Obviously,
temporary.
that's because if the person that owns the dock wants to spend the money for permanent electrical, if he has to move, it's just gonna cost him more.
That's
So,
Right.
I mean, let him, if he wants to put high dollar electrical in there, they have to move it, they have to move it. That's
Yeah,
just,
so-
that'd be his call, I would think, yeah. I know what you're saying, but.
Even though he's finished the dock for the most part right now, and not because of DEP that approved it and whatnot, if after you hear the evidence, you determine that it's in the wrong spot, that's on him. He has to
Yep.
move it. So I don't think it's any, you're not setting any precedent by telling him he can put permanent lighting on there. And
Yeah.
Well, it's a
they're gonna say-
protective measure for his property and everybody else's property.
Yeah, but it's his risk.
Yeah,
His
correct.
risk, his
Yeah.
financial risk, yeah.
Yep.
So,
Well, I just didn't wanna give him an indication that everything is okay.
I think you.
Oh, it's not-
okay,
it's not-
Spend a whole
We're
bunch
not
of
saying
money.
that.
that's why I was saying, this board has the best option you ever had. You can act, you don't have to act. If you don't act, then Mike proceeds, so you don't really need a motion to move that. Unless you think that that Mike shouldn't decide that way, then I would tell you.
Let's put it all back in
I think it's, Mr. Carroll's point was very well made. Just put it back on Mike.
I'm used to it.
Do what you think is right.
You need a motion
No,
tonight?
sir, we don't.
Okay.
All right.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Any audience participation? Thank you. Meeting's adjourned.
Call it.